It's another hockey game day on Wednesday. It's wonderful Wednesday, January 19th, and we're going to discuss Arizona Coyotes and New Jersey Devils. Trey Matthews of Locked on Devils joins us, so be sure to stay tuned.
You're Locked on Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This special crossover episode, the second crossover episode for the Coyotes side of the week. This is Locked on Coyotes and Locked on Devils. I'm Robyn Leanya, Carl Pavlik, my co-host of Locked on Coyotes, right beside me. Trey Matthews of Locked on New Jersey Devils also joins this episode. Trey, how you doing? How the Devils looking?
How are the Devils looking? Well, very inconsistent. We're currently on a 2-game losing streak. However, the thing is, we've only played like 2 games in the past 12 days. So I'm not sure if they're going to come out rusty or if they're going to come out, with a sense of purpose. Pretty much we're back at full strength. The only people who are out in terms of playing a key role is Dougie Hamilton because he suffered a facial fracture. So we're probably not going to see him in the next game. Jonathan Bernier, he had to get season-ending hip surgery, and Miles Wood has been out for the entirety of this year. He got hurt in preseason, so the only key people who are out, like I said, are Dougie Hamilton, Jonathan Bernier, and also Miles Wood. So we're pretty much back at full strength. We could have used this for a couple of games because looking at our last game against the Islanders, we really could have played much better had we had everyone back like at full strength, or if we had like someone like Jesper brought into the lineup, something like that. And also Mackenzie Blackwood was on the COVID protocol. We had to get an emergency backup goalie. So it's just been a cluster mess the last couple games for the Devils, and it's not on the wrongdoing of how the Devils are executing. It's just, we've been rocking a skeleton roster pretty much for the last couple games, but I'm glad that there's sometimes a blessing in disguise when you have this extended off period, because you get everyone back and then you start to play better, because after the extended Christmas break, we got off to a pretty decent start. We went on a 3-game win streak. Jack Hughes was able to put up 12 points in the last 5 or so games, and that's ultimately what secured his ticket to Las Vegas to represent the New Jersey Devils in the All-Star game. So there's been some highs. There's been a lot of lows this year for the Devils, including maybe what's going to happen to Lindy Ruff if we don't improve. So yeah, it's just been a roller coaster. So at the beginning of the year, there was hope, there was optimism. For the first 2 games or so, there was happiness. But then season went on like a 6-game losing streak, and then extended Christmas break, and then 3-game win streak, and now we're back to struggling just a little bit. But it's due to our roster being depleted. But at the same time, I just feel like if we had so many players that weren't on COVID protocol, we would be much better. And I know this is the case for a lot of NHL teams, but I'm glad that we were finally able to get players like recently coming off the COVID protocol were Mackenzie Blackwood, Yanni Kwokanen, Mason Gearston, let's see, Zaka, Sharangovich. Like, it seemed like every time we did, and also Jesper Bratt, it seemed like every time we did something like really good, it just seemed like someone went back to the COVID protocol.
Well, it's kind of interesting that you say that, because looking at the standings, Devils are kind of low, but it does seem like there's this kind of weird equalizer this season where you never know when a team is going to end up getting most of their players on COVID protocol. So do you guys still have like optimism, like that you can maybe pick it up in the second half, or is it just kind of like outside the reach right now?
There's definitely optimism. I've been talking about it on my show. We're within striking distance, but we need things to go our way, because we're pretty much not going to get a top 3 position in the Metropolitan Division. It's just, I don't see it happening. We would need to catch like lightning in the bottle.
Yeah.
But we could possibly get the final wild card spot, but it really depends on how much better the Detroit Red Wings get. It depends on how better the Boston Bruins get. So at the end of the day, I do have confidence but just how inconsistent we've been, I do have my worries a little bit.
And it's interesting too that you mentioned, the depleted roster, because the Arizona Coyotes were in a similar situation through this year. They have I think 12 guys in injured reserve. Not to mention they got guys who are going through who went through the COVID protocol as well, up to the point where half of the roster is Tucson Roadrunners. And I even joked around about that with you is when the Devils went through that period, I think earlier this month, and things it's like, why not go to Utica? What was the problem with that?
The problem is that due to the taxi squad rules, there was only a handful of players that were eligible to, be added to the taxi squad. Because, I talked about on my show, if the Devils wanted to go to Utica, they're going to have to rely on the veteran players of Utica, not some players that we have in mind. So that was kind of the thing, and that was kind of the issue that we were having. Just only a handful of players met the eligibility requirements to be added to the taxi squad. So we've had a few players come up and show what they're capable of doing, but at the same time, I just much rather just keep playing through it, and because chances are they won't go back to the COVID protocol, or it won't be that soon.
Yeah.
I'm knock on wood. I'm just waiting until I get the tweet saying that Jack Hughes has been added to the COVID protocol.
I mean, if the new changes, it seems like probably it's not going to happen.
Yeah. I don't think we've talked about that. But yeah, the NHL announced that they are not going to be testing asymptomatic players right now. Correct?
Yeah,
that's correct. Or no, it's going to take place after the All-Star game.
Ah, gotcha. Okay. Yeah. But the player I think most of us were worried about was Jacob Chikrin being put on COVID protocol, but he got put on while he was injured. So that was kind of just a blessing in disguise. His one time he was out with a lower body injury. So you're like, oh, okay, that works.
I mean, yeah, I think Chikrin actually went to go travel to New Jersey and on the East Coast, but I mean, obviously probably still questionable coming off his injury. And that also means activated off COVID protocol. I think the other player that was in COVID protocol in the last week, Scott Wedgwood, so he'll probably be back as well.
Oh, Scott Wedgwood.
Which we got from you guys.
Yeah.
I was kind of sad to see Scott Wedgwood go because I said that he kind of deserved another chance with the Devils just because he was put into a very interesting situation last year. So we originally signed him for him to be third string, possibly play in our AHL program if no one claimed him off waivers. But so Corey Crawford abruptly retires.
Yeah.
Mackenzie Blackwood got placed onto the COVID protocol last season, so he was out for an extended period of time. So who had to be the starter for a few games? Who had to hold down the fort? Scott Wedgwood. Now, the start of the season was actually pretty decent. He actually kept us afloat. The ending towards the season, he struggled. But I said, you know what? I wouldn't mind bringing Scott Wedgwood back for our third string role. I think he's earned it. Maybe for a 1 or 2 year extension, a cheap deal, kind of two-way. And they signed him to a two-way deal. But unfortunately, we placed him on waivers to send him down, and you guys claimed him. I didn't think anyone was going to claim him.
It was
the second time.
It was a sheer amount of time that was going to happen though, because for the Coyotes' sake, they knew they didn't want to call up Ivan Prosvetov, and Carter Hutton went on long-term injured reserve. So it's all right, we need another goaltender to hold down the fort,
and they were doing an 11-game losing streak to open the season.
And here's the thing, because we were talking about it, the last 11-game losing streak that the Coyotes had, back in the early 2010s, when
that was late. That was the first hockey year.
It was mid 2010s, yeah.
Yeah.
But what was it? So they get a goaltender off of waivers in Scott Wedgwood, and they do it again this time. It was really.
I wanted the Devils to claim Anton Khudobin off waivers when the Dallas Stars waived him because I thought that would actually be a good, solid backup goalie because we didn't know the situation for Jonathan Bernier, and I was like, you possibly have to think worst case scenario. So why don't you get Anton Hudobin? But we didn't get him, but they should have listened to me. But
I mean, goaltending waiver claims always seem to be the most interesting. I think the Coyotes first got Ilya Brizgalov off of waivers, like from the Anaheim Ducks all those years ago. Like you can get some like really interesting players and goalies because they're playing at like all levels of the league. Like we're seeing that Karel Vejmelka, the Coyotes starter right now, was playing in a lower Czech league. He just came out of nowhere. And he's got admittedly, it's a starting job on a terrible team, but he's still starting in the NHL.
yeah, I mean, our goalie situation has been interesting the last couple of years. We're still waiting for Mackenzie Blackwood to take the next step forward in his career. I personally think he is capable of doing it because 3 years ago they were talking about he could be a Vezina Trophy winner, and I still believe he can. But so far, there's been a couple games where he just looks like he was not into it. We're just waiting. We're just waiting for Mackenzie Blackwood to take that next step. But I think we're on the right path.
We still got more to get to on this episode of Locked On Coyotes and Locked On Devils. We're going to talk more about both these teams as well as just take a look ahead of what's getting ready for the game that's set for today. It's the Arizona Coyotes at New Jersey Devils, 5 p.m. Mountain Time. So it is 7 p.m. over there on the East Coast. We'll get more to that in just a sec. But first, Carl wants to share with you all the goodies about Built Bar.
Oh yeah. So I just got a message, and that it's a new year, and so that means New Year's resolutions. And if yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, make sure you include Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, maybe even better than a candy bar. Built Bar makes it easy to stick to your resolutions because it tastes really good. Most people, like if you go on if you go on a diet to start the new year, like you really kind of run out of steam when you start tasting things that don't taste good. Built bars aren't that. They're covered in 100% real chocolate. They only have 130 calories, just 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and you get 17 grams of protein. Compare that to, candy bar, which has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. And even if you're not a fan of working out, you can at least get something that tastes good and that's good for you. That way, when you do have a delicious Built Bar, you can just say it almost counts as a workout. So go to built.com, use the promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com.
So back here on the special crossover episode, Locked On Coyotes and Locked On Devils, Robyn, Carl Pavlik, and Trey Matthews. We're talking, the Coyotes and the Devils play today, it's going to be an interesting thing. Both these teams in different parts of the standings, especially because the Arizona Coyotes are in contention for the lottery pick, which will be an interesting one. But oh man, it's Trey, I don't know. I don't know how else to describe it to you. It's been brutal covering.
I am glad you said that, Robyn, because here's the thing. I said these next few games for the Devils, like prior to like the Islanders, prior to the Columbus Blue Jackets, things like that. I said we have a lot of gimme wins on the table before we have to play a team like the Carolina Hurricanes or the Tampa Bay Lightning, teams like that. So I was just like, okay. The Coyotes, that has to be a gimme win, and we're back at full strength for the most part. We're still missing 2 key guys. We're missing Jonathan Bernier. We're missing Dougie Hamilton, and Miles Wood hasn't played all season. But so we've been holding down the fort without him. It would be good to have him back, but that's a story for another time. But I'm just like, the Coyotes have got to be a gimme win. The excuses will be slim to none if we absolutely botch it, because we got Jesper Bratt back, we got Severson back, we got Blackwood back, we got Kuokkanen back, and we got Zaka back, Sharon Govich. We're getting all our guys back from COVID protocol. So it's like, for the most part, we are back at full strength. I'd say the only person that we would need to just complete it all together Dougie Hamilton, but I don't know how much longer he's going to be out. But so I think of this win as a gimme win for the Devils, with all due respect.
It's understandable.
It's understandable, although I still would be
you guys
slightly
did beat the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
I will give you that.
Yeah,
I was going to say that because especially if you got a guy like Kirill Vejmelka in net, which it's obviously there's no confirmation whether it's going to be Wedgwood or Vejmelka. Wouldn't surprise me it's Vejmelka since it's literally Wedgwood's just coming off COVID protocol. They needed to give him some time to warm up and all stuff like that. So
and they got back-to-back coming up at the end of the week.
Yeah, and Vejmelka has had, again, I think what I mentioned this in previous episodes, the crossovers, like 3 games of at least 45 saves, which is unbelievable. Like one of them was against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the other 2 were against the Winnipeg Jets.
And one of those was a 1-0 shutout win over the Jets. So
I don't know what he does, but he does it, and so I'd be careful of that. But it also is a pretty valid statement based off how the Coyotes are as a team overall.
Yeah, they're not good, and the best they have looked has been against the Montreal Canadiens, another not good team. They looked kind of okay against the Chicago Blackhawks, another not good team, and they just kind of stole a win against the Maple Leafs. So that's been the Coyotes' recent success. That, and they did take the Colorado Avalanche to a shootout, which they lost. But taking the Avalanche to a shootout, that's kind of a win.
And that was with Ivan Prosvetov in net.
That was with Ivan Prosvetov in net. So AHL goalie, 4 AHL defensemen.
I will take the dub.
I will take the win. I will take the 2 points.
Absolutely. Well, yeah.
I'm sorry, but I want to. I'm not trying to slander the Coyotes at all, but the one thing I say on my show is like very rarely will I give the Devils like a moral victory. If we play hard and we lose in like OT or whatever case might be, I'm just like, look. I'm glad we got the point and all. Like I'm usually very optimistic if we're able to like muster up a point. But I hate giving moral victories. Just not who I am. I think out of all my episodes, I think only 5% of them I've like acknowledged like, you know what, this was a hard fought game. They should be very proud. I think the last time I did that was when they lost to the Islanders, and that was just because it was a skeleton roster, and so we weren't really in the position to win. Like I said, I just see this game as a gimme win for the Devils. I think, and now it's time to put Mackenzie Blackwood back in between the pipes after missing an extended period of time. The thing is, and this is actually very funny, I said Mackenzie Blackwood needs a day off because he had played in 6 consecutive games and he got an extended periods of days off because he had to go to COVID protocol. I'm just like, that's not what I meant. Like, that is not what I meant.
You gotta be careful when you're making those wishes. They just backfire on you.
I don't know. I don't even know why I do that because I'm not the world's luckiest person.
That happened to us last year because I think we were talking about how lethal last year's goaltending was for the Coyotes because they had not 1, not 2, but 3 really good goaltenders last year, and then Kemper would go on a really good run. And he's like, but we should get Ronta in there maybe for a game. And all of a sudden, he goes out. Kemper goes out with an injury that takes him out for a couple of weeks, and then Ronta will go on 5 straight starts. And it's like, all right, give it to Hill. You need give Ronta some rest, and then Ronta goes out with an injury. Then Hill goes 10 straight games or 11 straight games before we're like, Jesus, calm the frick down.
I mean, let me just say this, though. You mentioned the Devils having a skeleton crew and giving them a moral victory. The Coyotes are a skeleton team. Like, Travis Boyd is our number 1 center at this point. Someone was, like, talking about Jay Beagle, and they're like, yeah, he was a good 4th-line center, good penalty killer. I'm like, cool, he's centering our 3rd line. Or I think it was the 2nd at the time. Like, the Coyotes are just not built to be a competitive team this year.
Half of the Coyotes defense is still Tucson Roadrunners players.
Yeah. And that's before injuries. Like everything is a moral victory this year or nothing is. It's either be very depressed all the time or just celebrate the little things?
Here's my thing. I need the Devils to win this game, because looking at ahead of our schedule, I'm a little concerned. So, after we play you guys, we got to play the Hurricanes. Then we got to play the LA Kings, decent team, but still a team that I feel like could give us some trouble. Then we got to play the Dallas Stars, a team I'm not really too worried about, but it's the Devils we're talking about. Then we got to play the Tampa Bay Lightning, then the Carolina Hurricanes again, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Pittsburgh Penguins. And then we'll play the Blackhawks, Canucks, and Blue Jackets. So, but my thing is just looking at these next 5 or so games, I'm a little concerned because I think we're going to have more losses than wins. We'd be lucky if we muster up a win in our next few games after we play you guys. So I'm just we need to win now because I have no idea when our next win is going to come. Because for the Stars and Kings, quite honestly, I'm flip a coin.
I mean, yeah, that's fair.
That's 2 out of 3 though.
That's a tough lineup, and if you're looking for points, it's going to be hard to get too many. So yeah, well, I
got
mean,
to be careful when I guarantee these wins because I guaranteed a win against the Ottawa Senators, and we ended up losing in OT. So, or was it a shootout? I forget.
This was us. This was me and Carl. I think at the beginning of the year, we were talking they had the Chicago Blackhawks coming up, and at the time, the Blackhawks. I mean, they're still a bad team, but we were just we were just okay, this has got to be a win for the Arizona Coyotes. They're both bottom feeder teams, but come on, the Coyotes, they got to see this as an opportunity, and they blow it. Just
Dylan Strome scores on the power play, game-winning goal. Just the guy who left.
I know you guys are older than me, but welcome to my world, kids.
Oh man.
I was gonna say the first time I remember watching the Devils seriously was that game against that series against the LA Kings, because that was when I first started watching the Coyotes. So,
you really did you just bring that up because you had to bring it up, or are you just trying to rub it in?
I mean, no. Trust me, I'm gonna bring up the first overall pick soon, because that is definitely something that we should talk about because it's the experience we're hoping to get.
That first overall picks. Okay, so here's the thing. I actually talked about it in my latest episode. The first overall picks have. I'll leave Owen Power off the list because he obviously has not played in an NHL game yet. But I'd say Nico Hischier and after first overall picks. Let's see, Rasmus Dahlin, Alexis Lafreniere. Nico Hischier, look, Hischier's on my team, and I want to say he's good and all, but he hasn't exactly taken the league by storm. He's the youngest captain in the NHL, I'll give him that, but due to injuries and other factors, he hasn't really dominated. But Jack Hughes being named an All-Star, that's huge, especially for the more recent first overall picks, just because the last few years we've been having this debate. If you're drafted first overall, you're not really guaranteed a bona fide stardom in this league, kind of thing. Yeah. Just because, like I said, I literally saw a YouTube video of Dahlin getting booed, for mistakes he made by his home team, his hometown crowd, nonetheless.
I will say this though regarding the first overall, and that's just coming in these next 2 drafts in these next 2 years. Shane Wright and Connor Bedard are touted, and the only last time I've heard of something similar to this is Connor McDavid level of being a future game-changing superstar, and that's why the Arizona Coyotes are on the shame for Shane sweepstakes right now because they know that.
Oh boy, Lafreniere is somewhere out there listening to this show.
I mean, I hope so. That'd be cool.
I mean, yeah, no,
fair point.
I remember hearing about Alexis Lafreniere, and I'm like, okay, yeah, he's gonna be great one day. But these guys, they were, I think they made comparisons, I think for Bedard and for Shane Wright, and it's just these guys are breaking records that were either previously set in that league by Connor McDavid or by Sidney Crosby. And
It's going to be I don't mean to burst your bubble or anything, but I think it's going to be a while before we see another like Sidney Crosby or Connor McDavid or let's see who else was Patrick Kane, um, or maybe even an Aaron Ekblad, where you're one of the leaders of your team, but but Aaron Ekblad hasn't been to the All-Star game in like 7 or so years. But um, I think it's going to be a while before we see that kind of level of dominance. Now, I could be wrong. I could like, Owen Power could come in and like either whether it be next year or the year after, Owen Power could come in and dominate on the defensive end. But for the Sabres, highly doubt it. But still, um, you know, I'm just saying like, look, it's nice to have expectations like that, but be very, very careful. That's my thing.
See, this is why I asked, because you got that knowledge. The Coyotes, despite being a horrible team for pretty much most of their existence, have never drafted higher than 3.
And the last time they drafted 3, they picked up Dylan Strome, which didn't pan out.
Who?
Yeah, and then the time before that, Kyle Turris, who also didn't pan out, but for different reasons.
Who's that again? Is he in a band? What, are you talking about the punk rock singer?
Sure.
That's a good punk rock singer name.
I'll check him out on Spotify.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it. But we still got more to get to on this episode of Locked On Coyotes. We're gonna get to prediction time. How do we think that this game is gonna go? What do I think? What do you think the score is gonna be, and all such things like that. Before we get to that, though, Trey, you got some special words from our friends at Bet Online.
Yep, BetOnline would like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue our march to the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline remains the #1 spot for all of the best sport wagering action for 2022, new year, and a new updated desktop and mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON to get started. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, even NASCAR. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline is fast and easy way to wager on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. Please visit our friends at Locked On Bets for all your betting needs there as well. And also, please remember to gamble responsibly.
Absolutely. That right there is some important words. Gambling responsibly.
I would say a joke, but I don't want to get in trouble.
For those old listeners in Arizona, and I think it's probably accessible elsewhere too, but there is a toll-free number for gambling problems. So if you need it, we will be more than happy to provide that for you. But let's get to the Bet Online picks of the game, my favorite segment, where I'm still doing pretty well. There are games when I fail epically and get it completely wrong, and there are games when I'm pretty darn right. Last time I picked the over for the Montreal game, and yep, there you go. But here we go. The picks for this one, you have the New Jersey Devils. They are 1.5 favorites at plus 115. Money line minus 195 for the New Jersey Devils, and plus 175 for the Arizona Coyotes. Total points is set at 6 points. Bet the over at plus 104. Bet the under minus 115.
I like those. I like to hear that. Favorites? I like that.
I mean, the Coyotes have not been the...
They've only been the favorites once in this entire year. They were favorites once, and that was earlier this week against the Montreal Canadiens. I even joked about that with Scott and Laura. I said, we have never been favorites until today.
Man, what a fall from grace, going from the Stanley Cup Finals to now going dead into the lottery.
But it's Montreal, so you just love to see it. Like, nobody is upset to see Montreal tumble. We're all just like, oh, this is fun. We'll watch that.
It's probably some payback for setting cars on fire for making it to the Stanley Cup Final.
I can't wait for my crossover with Locked On Canadians. Unfortunately, our game against them a couple weeks ago got postponed, and I saw it coming a mile away.
Yeah, they're fun to talk to. I enjoy talking. I really enjoy talking to Scott and Laura.
Okay, so my prediction for the game. going back to what the segment is about. Um, okay, so look, we're getting Mackenzie Blackwood back. That's going to be a major X factor, goaltending for the Devils. And we also got a few key pieces back. And we played pretty solid in our last game against the Islanders. However, we might come out a little rusty just because, like I said, this is going to be like our second game in like 12 days. And just getting everyone back from COVID protocol because theoretically, here's the thing. We played actually pretty decent against the Columbus Blue Jackets our second time out in which we lost against them because we did a back-to-back series with them. We won the first game, and then I think Jesper Bratt had to go to COVID protocol, so we lost the second game. And then playing against the Islanders, we put up a pretty decent battle, but we just didn't have enough. So getting all those players I listed earlier in the show back is going to pay dividends for the Devils. I talked about Sharon Govich. He was able to score in the last game against the Islanders. And here's something that's not really being talked about. Ever since the Christmas break game, or ever since, let me try that again. Ever since Christmas break, every game that Sharon Govich has played in, he has scored a goal. So that's something that's not really being talked about, albeit Sharon Govich, he was on the COVID protocol like earlier this month. So it's just like, it was hard to it was hard to notice it, but I've noticed it. His past few game appearances, he scored a goal. So, and I picked him as an X factor going into the Islanders game, and lo and behold, he was able to score. So, when looking at this game, I think Jesper Bratt is going to be the huge, X factor going forward. Just because, look, we talk about Jack Hughes having a great season, but another player that's not really getting enough love is Jesper Bratt. Now, Carl, you asked me at the beginning of the show, who is Jesper Bratt? You didn't really know who he was.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you something. He's our leader in goals, assists, and points. But you wouldn't know that because Jack Hughes gets all the credit. And rightfully so. Jack Hughes is what makes our engine run. And here's a narrative that doesn't really go into the favor of Jesper Bratt. When Jack Hughes got hurt second game of the year, the Devils, we were treading water, but we weren't really anything impressive. But Jesper Bratt was the person who kept us above water. He kept us from sinking, along with Dougie Hamilton. And now we get Jack Hughes back, and the reason why Jack Hughes is an all-star, and I said this in my last show, is just because he was able to light the league on fire, be one of the top three stars of that particular week after the Christmas break. And he put up 12 points in 5 games, and that's what solidified Jack Hughes going to the All-Star game. And also, the Devils went on a 3-game win streak. We had big wins against the Oilers and against the Capitals, 2 games in which I thought the Devils would lose. And I was just like, okay, we need to get a win against Sabres, and we won 3 games. So that's Jesper Bratt. And I don't know if the last man voting has been official yet. I don't know if they've named the official winner, but if Jack Hughes goes to the All-Star game, Jesper Bratt deserves to go alongside with him. He deserves it 100% because Jack Hughes gets all the credit. But Jack Hughes does not have the season he is having without Jesper Bratt. And Jesper Bratt, 6th round pick, and he's about to top his career highs with ease this season. So my overall prediction, Devils come out victorious by a score of 4-2.
4-2.
4-2. So you're not going to bet on the total points because that is a 6-goal push right there.
I said we would come out rusty. Like I said, it's been a while since we played. So I think we're going to come out rusty and we're going to make a few boneheaded mistakes. That's what but I think our offense is going to be there, and I think it's going to outshine maybe a few defensive laps because that's what the Devils tend to do. Whether it's our goalie or whether it's our defenseman, we always seem to make like a couple boneheaded plays that could have costed us. So I will give you guys 2 goals. I won't say we're going to shut you out. I don't think we're going to play absolutely dominant. I think we're going to make a few mistakes.
I mean, I would say something, but my prediction is 3-2 Devils. So I'm kind of close with it. I would bet the under. I think Vejmelka is going to be a solid player. I think you guys are going to be a little bit more rusty, not necessarily get the offense you want, but this one The Coyotes have won, a couple games recently, but I don't put stock in that continuing. They seem to be like a game on, a game off, game on, game off. So I'm picturing a game off.
Carl, you and I have the same score this game.
Yeah,
3-2 Devils. I think it's pretty rare you and I have the exact same score.
very rare.
But 3-2 Devils. So that is taking the under on this game because that is 5 goals total, and taking the points for the Arizona Coyotes by losing only by 1. Because that it's a more efficient that way. That's how it works for me because I feel like I'm doing this almost every time. I'm always going like taking the points. Actually, no, I've given the points sometimes, but it is what it is.
Yeah. This just seems like it's going to be. I think it's going to be a little bit of a tighter game. I don't imagine the Coyotes are going to have like another 5-2 game like they did against the Montreal Canadiens. It's a different team. And I don't necessarily think the Coyotes have a great shot with this one. But I think they're going to make it close, keep things interesting.
I think the re-addition to Jacob Chikrin back in the lineup will be nice. Assuming he is really good. It seems like he's good to go because they sent Vladislav Kolyachonok back down to Tucson alongside Ivan Presvetov. So promising.
Yeah, promising. If not Wednesday, I think he's there for the road trip. So Coyotes got back-to-back coming up Friday, Saturday. So maybe then.
Got the Islanders and the Rangers at the end of this week. So yeah.
Fun.
But those are our predictions. All pretty similar. I think Trey just has an extra point on there to towards the Devils and we'll make it interesting. It'll be quite the game to watch. But once again, that game starting at 5 p.m.
Wait, hold up. Before you do your closing, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You said 3-2, right?
Yeah.
OT, shootout,
Regulation.
Yeah, regulation.
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah.
I've sometimes made those picks. I'm just like, oh, it's gonna be this in OT. Like I'm obviously it's a crazy.
I remember I did a crossover with Herman of Locked On Oilers, and he said like the game would go into an OT and the Devils would win it, and he was right. Because he said like the Oilers don't play well in the afternoon. He said that they've been struggling in this aspect, so he said the game will go to OT and the Devils will win it, and he was right, and it was actually pretty impressive.
That is an impressive pick, especially when you're taking into account like time of day. That's always. I wish I had known that the Coyotes do good in afternoon games.
Absolutely. Anyways, though, we are running out of time on this episode of Locked On Coyotes. Once again, you have the Arizona Coyotes and New Jersey Devils set for 7 p.m. in New Jersey. That game is, of course, over there. That's 5 p.m. right here in Arizona. Once again, this is a special crossover, the Coyotes and Locked On Devils show. Trey, thanks for doing this crossover. Tell everybody where we can get you on social media and your podcast.
You can find my podcast wherever you get your podcast from: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Megaphone, wherever the case might be, wherever you get your podcast from, Odyssey. And you can also find me on Twitter, TreyMatt and the number 4. Find my Instagram, Trey Matthews. And Carl, Robyn, where can we find you guys?
You can go ahead and find us at LO_Coyotes on Twitter, on Instagram at Lockdown Coyotes, and on Facebook, facebook.com/LockdownCoyotes. Our personal accounts, I am at Robyn_Leano. That is Robyn with a Y _Leano. And Carl, I'll let you share it this time rather than me just share for you.
Sure, I'm at Carl Pavlock, FFH.
You can follow all of us and you can interact with us, ask the question you might have. We can answer them on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for joining this show. Thanks to Trey for being part of this wonderful crossover episode. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And for all my Coyotes fans listening out there, don't forget to hell on.